This is Coder Radio, episode 594, recorded on November 5th, 2024. Hey friend, welcome into Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and the business of software development and the world of technology. My name is Chris, and over there with I voted for the Gators, it's our host, Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike.
Misa need your vote to be the most bomb-bad president ever.
I was really shocked when Jar Jar decided to join up with the Gators. So, yeah, it's a pretty strong ticket.
Although, honestly, like natural allies, right? They both live in a swamp.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
And they have an appetite for Florida Man and destruction.
In retrospect, yes. In retrospect. Yeah, I just didn't see it
and
at first.
Is Naboo not the Florida of the Star Wars universe?
You know what? You've made that point before, and now I see it. There we
go.
Yeah. You know, I've really been getting a lot of my news from an app that Apple just took from out of the App Store. Gosh darn it. It just accidentally happened that a, quote, productivity app, which, quote, easily helps you record everyday events and plan your time, was actually a secret pirated movie streaming app that, based on your location, would add an additional secret, like, functionality that let you just watch pirated movies in this quote-unquote productivity app that Apple approved in the App Store in the U.S. and everywhere else. And so if you download and ran it in an unsupported region, you just see the productivity stuff and, you know, kind of a subpar app. But say, like, you're outside the U.S. and you launch the app. I can't believe this keeps working, Mike. Not the first time.
This is one of the wildest things I've seen in a while. I love it. I love that Apple missed it. I'm a little disappointed I didn't know about it until they took it down. But
I know.
I
know. There's other ones out there, right? There's another one out there that's waiting to be discovered.
Oh, yeah.
I love these kinds of things. I think it's so fun. Apple, of course, has pulled it. I guess it was streaming things like Venom: The Last Dance and the new Joker movie, Terrifier 3. A lot of it was in French, so the developer I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although it was streaming English movies, just French subtitles enabled.
Maybe it's just like a really aggressive French teachers. They're like, okay, this is my last chance to get these American kids to learn a foreign language. But he gives them all the pirated movies they could possibly watch, but you can't turn off the French subtitles.
You know, that would actually be kind of like next level clever.
Honestly, that's like guerrilla education right there.
Yeah, right.
Like, we're doing it. We're doing it. You're learning French. Do you want to watch the Venom movie before it comes out? You're learning French.
There you go. All right, I have a PSA for everybody listening. I am soft launching a perk. It's something I've been thinking about for a while, and Gigatexel inspired me in the live chat. Because, you know, we do this show live typically Tuesdays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern every week. But not everybody can make it live. And for our Linux Unplugged members, we make the full live stream available to our members as a thank you. And so I'm experimenting with doing the same thing for the Coder QA crew. You know, it's going to be like the full source dump. So it's when the live stream starts. So a lot of times on the live stream, I'll play some additional clips and news that kind of fill out some of the context around the stuff we talk about in Coder. Every now and then, Mike and I will make a reference to something. And if you catch those clips, you'll catch that reference. Or if you're current with the news, you'll catch that reference. And then usually there's a little post show where Mike and I wrap up, pick a title, and we're still streaming for a bit. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to publish for our members. This is a soft launch. It's kind of like an episode 600 celebratory thing. But I want to get all the kinks worked out, so by the time 600 hits here, it's like an official feature. So if you're a Coder QA member or you want to become a member, you can sign up and get access to that and help me test it out. And I'll have a download in your members area, and there will also be a new podcast feed that should show up when I'm all done. It's a work in progress right now, but it's something I'm experimenting with, starting with this episode, and hope to have it all fully polished and nice by episode 600. So if you're a member and you want to try it, you know what? Go to coder.show/membership, and you just get in your account and go find your link and subscribe in your podcast catcher, or sign up and become one. Could be a cool way to get a little extra Coder context, you know? And you get to hear us hang out with the live stream, yell at them and things like that. Okay, maybe not really. So I came across an article this week. Oh, and just officially, so you know, that was your PSA. I came across an article this week that argues that something I attack all the time on this show is actually a good thing if you leverage it properly. And that is my old soapbox, technical debt. The article is entitled, and get this, you know this got my attention, Why Avoiding Technical Debt Might Be Your Biggest Mistake. Avoiding technical debt might be your biggest mistake. Okay. All right. They got my attention with this one. In the blog post, the author argues that technical debt isn't inherently bad. It's unmanaged technical debt that actually causes problems, and programmers who refuse to incur any technical debt pay a high price, using up one of the company's most valuable resources, which is your time. So, and where the author kind of got me is the author draws, I have a pretty hard stance on technical debt. But the author draws a parallel between technical and financial debt. And he contrasts German debt-adverse attitudes with American views of using debt as leverage for growth. And the author emphasizes that technical debt, like financial debt, can be beneficial when used to deliver features faster and meet immediate business needs. However, that's accepting that it requires careful management to prevent it from becoming unmanageable debt. In other words, you take on a little bit of short-term technical debt to accomplish a business goal, and then you have to come later on and make refactoring decisions that are based on, at that point, metrics, hopefully, and the value the business gets from whatever it is you built that can inform best practices.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of this idea? That, like, there's actually value to taking on technical debt for a little while?
Yeah, I think there is, right? It's a choice between long-term maintainability and maintenance costs and actually shipping. And I'd almost argue there are no projects that actually ship that don't have some form of technical debt, right?
Yeah, especially when you're just learning something. But I do know this mindset, and you've probably seen this too, is like when you're building something for a customer, you don't want to start building yourself a hole that you're just going to have to fix later on. And there are times where it's like you'll push and push and push, I would assume, to avoid building something you're just going to have to fix later. But maybe you should just bite that bullet.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also very tough for like your customers or your end client or however, whatever kind of situation you're in to justify the cost of going back and really spending the money and the time on technical debt, right? Because that's not a feature that goes on the box that your sales guys can hog.
Yeah, we fixed the crap that we didn't address earlier.
Right. So remember that thing you've been running for a year? Yeah, it's been like fundamentally broken. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're right about that. So I guess what I liked about this is it made me kind of rethink like a pretty firm stance I've had on this idea. Because I've probably talked about the issues of technical debt 50 times on the show. And I've never once talked about why one might take it on, even though I often will be the guy that says, hey, yeah, we can compromise on the implementation for a little bit while we just figure out how this works and what kind of use it gets. And then once we have an idea, we'll build the final version. And that is technically debt.
Yeah, another question is, do you ever end up fixing it? And I think that's where things get a little spicier, because the answer is probably not really.
I bet probably on average, no. People don't. Yeah. No. Although I'd like to know, but we'll see. Anyways, moving on, because that's an old topic of mine. I just wanted to touch on it for a moment. There's a little bit of news this week, and I think we have to kind of go through the details and then kind of talk about the bigger picture implications here. So hundreds of code libraries posted to NPM are trying to install malware on dev machines. An ongoing attack is uploading hundreds of malicious packages to the open source node package manager repository in an attempt to infect the devices of developers who rely on the libraries there. According to researchers, the malicious packages have names that are similar to legitimate ones. So, for example, like one of them is Puppeteer. These libraries are essentially just like a little bit off in the name. So if you typo it or you don't spell it quite correctly, you end up pulling in one of these malicious ones. A lot of them have to do with like a lot of these degenerate cryptocurrency projects that are out there. The discovery comes on the heels of a similar campaign a few weeks ago that was targeting developers that were using forks of Ether.js. Once it's installed, the malicious package uses a semi-novel way to conceal its IP address. It actually coordinates on the Ethereum blockchain, or whatever it is, if they call it a blockchain, using smart contracts. So there's no human, there's no there's no centralized command and control server. Well, here it is. I knew this kind of thing would. This must not be the first. It gets persistent access to your system. It remains across reboots. It collects system information, including GPU, CPU, memory specifications, your username, your OS version. And then it gets its command and control information from this smart chain, I guess. Essentially, it's using typo squatting. And the mitigation is check your packages real hard before you install them. That's the mitigation. Make sure you didn't typo. Don't mess up is the mitigation. So what is the solution here? This is happening at a faster and faster clip. In fact, what's happening now, Mike, is anything that's kind of a semi-popular category gets this whole series of typo squatting. You see it too. There's malicious Docker container images. They're trying to crack down on that, but we saw that for a while. Now we're seeing it with NPM and other package libraries. Really, it's not even an NPM problem. It's a snap problem. It's all of them. They all have it, although NPM really seems to have it the worst. I don't know, man. Like typo squatting? So the problem there is you don't even realize you've screwed up. And the solution is try better. That's not it, right?
Right. Suck less is never, the best advice to give. I don't know what the solution is. I think it is, unfortunately, that you have to be really, really careful. This is obviously a rich attack vector for, malicious actors. And it makes sense, right? Because, what do most people just do? They type npm I, and they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'd put the question out there to the audience. How do developers avoid this? What is a solution here? I've actually seen, and tell me what you think of this, and I'd like the audience to boost in and tell me what they think too, Mike. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. Because to me, it just seems like a ludicrous suggestion. But the actual suggestion I'm seeing in the community is don't have dependencies.
Totally unrealistic.
How does that even, are you going to build everything?
That's crazy.
Do you think this discourages people from the stack? I don't know. And then here's my other question. Is there tooling that people are comfortable with that developers can run on their local workstation or something that audit every library that gets pulled in, every dependency? Is there something out there today doing this?
Not really. The problem is if it's typo squatting and you just add the wrong npm repo, you don't even get the benefit of the warning from npm. Right? Because if you have an out of date known security flaw npm package, npm will be like, you need to update these packages. But if you've added the wrong destination, then you're host. Right? Because the malware creator is never going to be like, okay, let me give him a warning. No, of course not. They're going to just yeah.
I'd like to hear if anybody out there knows tooling that will help you check this. I'm looking for something practical here. I'm looking for something you can actually give to people and they can do something with it, because try harder just seems like a non-starter to me. And yet the problem is expanding faster and faster. And the other thing too, it's here's where it would be insidious is you get early into this area. You start working in something say it's a cryptocurrency, or it's a Rust tooling, or it's some sort of open source library for a web server. And then it gets kind of semi-popular, and all of a sudden it just starts getting the scene just gets blasted, right? They what's the term? They flood the scene
right
with a bunch of crap and copies of your stuff that are forks of what you make, but just misspelled with malware inserted into it. There's got to be a better way. Meanwhile, Copilot's telling me, how I can write better Python, and the other AI tools won't give me a dirty joke. This I'll rant about that later. But this problem, it just fires me up because it just keeps getting worse. And then in this particular case, it's using something that's decentralized. So I don't even know how you go after it, because in terms of smart contracts, and I'm not Mr. Smart Contract, so I may be wrong, but in terms of smart contracts, like there's a case example right now of Tornado Cash where they have arrested the developers behind it. They're like throwing the law at them as hard as they could possibly throw at them, and yet they still can't shut down the smart contract. The smart contract remains. It's still functioning, and people can still do whatever they were doing with it.
That's a killer. I don't know. I feel like it's almost NPM's become so big and is so commonly used. I don't know that there is a way they could really fix this, right? Because any change that would be breaking would be catastrophic for, I don't know how, tons of devs. I can't even think of the number, right?
Yeah, you're right. Because it would take. You're right. That's it, Mike. It would take a retooling. It would take a total fix of the tooling. And that would break existing workflows so much that people would rather have this frickin' problem than have the fix because of the damage the fix would have, no doubt. Otherwise, we'd have a fix by now.
I think so, yeah.
Speaking of technical debt.
Yeah, it's like the old Microsoft problem, right? It's very classic Windows XP.
Yeah. Okay, well, I got some good news just to kind of cheer us up because I just was so impressed by this. I wanted to share it with the class. FFmpeg has seen a 94x performance boost in certain implementations. And the reason? Handwritten AVX512 assembly code in certain parts. Now, the developers have created this optimized code path using this assembly code with specific functions within FFmpeg, which, for people that don't know, is like the Swiss Army knife of media tools out there. And they were able to achieve a significant performance improvements from 3x to 94 times faster compared to regular implementations, depending on your hardware. And this assembly code enables processing of large chunks of data in parallel using 512-bit registers, which can handle up to 16 single precision flops or 8 double precision flops in one operation. So, in other words, this little optimization shows that you get huge performance improvements. And they didn't rewrite the whole project, but they ripped out some of it and put in this handwritten team code by just a small couple like contributors that just wrote this whole new set of code paths for it, and they've shipped it. And then the nice thing about this is A, it's fun to see an assembly story, but B, FFmpeg is used in so many tools out there like Jellyfin and Plex and Handbrake.
It's very fundamental.
They all get a boost. They all get a boost now.
So these assembly developers can go hang out with the Florida State COBOL developers and have just the most rockin' old man party ever.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. I'd go to that party. Wouldn't you go to that party?
I thought we were presently hosting that party.
Oh! Coder.show/membership. You can go there and support the show directly. And now, like I mentioned earlier, you get a little taste of what it takes to put this show together. You get the full source dump of the show, but probably more importantly, you get all like the extra comments, if you will. Before the show, I often play news clips and audio of stories that are relevant to Coder Radio, maybe something we have talked about or will be talking about. And every now and then you'll hear Mike and I kind of mention a side story. That's kind of like a side quest, that we just sort of quickly mention. Well, a lot of times you can get the context in the pre-show if you make it live. And now, as a member, you can help me test this full dump version. That's what I'm calling it. The full Coder dump. No? I shouldn't call it that? Hold on, I'm getting some feedback here. Yeah. It sounds like something else entirely. Especially bad with the election code. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's gross. Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. Thank you. Okay. So we're calling it the full source. That's what we're calling it. The full source release of the Coder Radio program. Every time we make a mistake, the bad words, the before the show, the after the show, all of it, you can help me test that and give me feedback if you like it as a member. Of course, you're supporting the show directly as well. You also could potentially buy this spot. Why not feature your business or product right here? Email me, chris@jupiterbroadcasting.com. I'd love to work with somebody in the community. So there you have it. Little update for our members as we get close to the big 600, and I would love your feedback on that feature, so I had to plug it twice. It's coder.show/membership to sign up.
407 boosts to go.
Oh, we do have us some boosts to get to this week. And the first boost, I'm just reading this username right now, and I'm having a tickle. The first boost comes from the USS Wes. and it is 76,427 sats, which is a Defiant boost. So here you go, Mr. Payne.
Tough little ship. Little.
Defiant boost to chime in with a successful rewrite. Oh!
Hey, Rich Lobster!
I was working at a VoIP provider and handled a very legacy SMS and MMS stack with a customer-facing API. The previous stack was Python 2. It was an MVP built most entirely on AWS Lambda without a lot of investment in the bridge and the tooling. It made for a very distributed system. It made for a very distributed system. We replaced it with Python 3, Fast API, Celery Stack, and it was actually much simpler to operate. Here's some tips for a rewrite. Look into the stranger fig pattern, useful for all kinds of granularity. Invest time to capture the actual inputs and outputs of the existing system. Bugs become features over time. Oh, yeah. I'm giving a ding to that one. I have actually seen that myself, is something that is actually not supposed to work the way it is becomes incorporated into the workflow. Wes also goes on to say, requires a lot of trust and strong communication with management and stakeholders. Yeah, the better the communication, the better the buy-off. Work in small improvements to every ticket that you can. And lastly, always bring up the legacy system increases estimates. Always bring up why the legacy system increases estimates. Why? If they want it bad enough, they'll invest in updates. If they trust you to deliver. Oh, that's some wise stuff right there. Man.
Make it so.
That's really good. And it makes me think, too, it's like, I think there's like a recurring theme in here is communication, trust, expectations, and that's how you over time. Remember that boost we got where somebody was like spending a decade rebuilding one of their apps?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And you got to imagine, working at a VoIP provider, it's kind of like working at a bank. It's like, it's probably, they're a little risk averse. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Payne. Appreciate that. Listener Jeff, a.k.a. PJ, comes in with 50,000 sats. Oh, Mike. Why weren't you using your Tumblr? I bet the people aren't boosting to say for the holidays, by the way, along with the election stuff. So here's more Coder for all. Thank you,
I should have been using my Coder Tumblr, but I was not the one who spilled. Well, it wasn't my drink that spilled, so. But yes.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows of the boost support and the membership signups is interesting, and they both seem to kind of correlate. And it correlates across all shows. And every now and then it can be one show has a bad show and people are like, I'm not supporting that show. But it's like other things are going on in the world and people, And it's like, for us, it's like, oh God, all right. Just like kind of like, hold it, boys. Hold your breath. We're going to make it through this. So appreciate the extra support there, Jeff. Thank you very much. Now, Crashmaster came in with a big duck, 22,222 sats. That's an Aflac duck.
Aflac!
A great show. I do not notice any Wi-Fi issues with my Dev 1 running the latest updates. I'm not sure what Mike's issue might be, but I did switch my AP to a TP-Link Deco Mesh. How is your Wi-Fi stuff going?
Yeah, all fixed up. Actually, like right after the show, someone got with me. And I should say the folks at System 76 also sent me a note like, hey, what's going on with the Wi-Fi? So after trying a bunch of things, one thing was I had to override the power saver setting, and that worked for a time.
Okay.
Weirdly, I think that Linux is off the hook on this one ultimately, though, because it happened again a day later after I gave Carl and them the all clear. It was my router. I just rebooted the router, did a firmware update, and it's back on par with the Mac.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know why it would affect one machine more, but So, and I'm running the latest alpha of Cosmic because I'm doing my review. And yes, I'm very happy so far. So I love that little Dev one. I got to say, it really is a shame they didn't continue that partnership with HP.
They probably would have sold the Dev 2 to both of us. We both would have bought one.
For the price, so I have to go on a trip very soon up north. And for kind of weird reasons, I have to take the Amtrak. So Secretary Pete, please don't let me down. But I'm going to be working in my little, Amtrak roomette, they call it, on my Dev 1. It's my travel. It's my road machine.
With a candle and a little tea. I'm picturing. It's very romantic.
A fine white steel barrel aged wine. You don't talk about a little Chardonnay action. I think Chardonnay is white, right? I know nothing about wine. So
yeah. Well, you can find out. You'll have time on the train.
True.
Thank you, Crashmaster. Appreciate that boost. Marbermo comes in with 20,000 sats. Love the show. Please don't go. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Marlboro, Crashmaster, listener Jeff, of course, USS West. You guys really held up the show this week. And then we also had some great boosts from a couple of others to round us out. Yukon Cornelius is back with 4,000 sats.
The traders love the vol.
Followed up from last week. Yes, there are some folks who worked with this product since they graduated from college and have done their entire career in the team. And the name is supposed to be Yukon Cornelius from the Rudolph movie. Oh, did I get it wrong? Oh, Yukon, not Ucorn. Right, I do get it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That's because I don't read. I think what I do is like pattern. I don't know what my brain does when it sees words, but I don't think it's technically reading them. I don't know. It's not a conscious thing. But I appreciate the boost. You keep calling me up. PC Nullrelf comes in with a Jar Jar boost. That's 5,000 sats.
You boost.
Jar Jar had a deep conversation about you guys and decided you clearly deserve a boost. Keep it up. Well, thank you, Nullref. Appreciate that very much. CB's here with 2,525 sats. Hey, guys, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on the newer languages like Odin and Zig. Oh, my God.
I mean, just for the name alone, you got to go with
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. So I did take a brief look at these. When I say brief, I mean this morning. Yeah, they're not things I need. They're both basically trying to be that, we're fed up with C++, let's do something else language. I very openly am not fed up with C++.
So here's how Odin programming language, the data-oriented language for sane software development. Are they like coming at R here? Like, what's happening?
It's weird because they have some documentation there where they say they're a drop-in replacement for C++. So now I might be confusing them. One of them can just go, I think it's Zig, actually, the other one.
Yeah.
That can go side by side with C++.
Yep.
They definitely are both oriented to give you tons of control over memory space and layout and all that good stuff. Not a problem I'm looking to solve. Yeah, Magnolia Mayhem in the chat is right. They're very Go-esque. I would say they're more Go than Rust if we're talking about. It's weird that we have this whole category now of languages trying to like out C++,
Yes.
C++.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, no shade on the Odin or Zig teams. I feel like no one's going to dethrone C++ anytime soon, right? But of the contenders, I just feel like Rust has a lot of traction, and then Go as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, both of those as well. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. Odin and Zig. If you're curious at home and you want to look it up, go try it out. Let us know what your thoughts are and boost in. Do a little follow-up. You could be our Zig correspondent. Bit Cryptic comes in with 2,048 sats. Just a quick boost to make up for the beta version of Fountain not streaming sats lately. Uh-oh. What? What? That is ridiculous. Thank you for making it up. Appreciate that. Tomato, some people call him Tomato, comes in with 5,000 sats. The Jar Jar boost.
You boost.
Lads, just want to say that I upped my subscription to the Jupiter Signal specifically to support this show. For other listeners out there, it unlocks the entire back catalog of Coderlies, which is pretty great.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, if you become a member, you get all the previous Coderlies as well.
Oh, very good.
I know, right? Sam H. also comes in with a Jar Jar boost.
You boost.
Following up on 592, you asked about dark matter C++ devs out here. I work on a C++ code base that includes 30-plus-year-old code, but currently builds in C20 mode thanks to Red Hat's GCC toolsets, which we use GCC 12 on RHEL. Relatively up to date. I'm definitely interested in things like safe C++ if it ever actually makes it to production. Well, not only if it ever actually makes it to production, Sam, but like, when is it going to be baked into the RHEL version that you're actively using with the tool set that you're actively using? Like, imagine they got Safe C++. We talked about this last week. They got Safe C++ off the ground. And, 5 years, you really get something that's pretty distributed, and then another 8 years before it's going to be in a RHEL that's widely deployed and distributed in applications they're running on. I mean, it really could be like a decade.
Oh yeah, that's a long road you're starting down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. But I'd love to see it. And I really appreciate the deets. And I always love hearing from the dark matter devs out there. It gives us insight into the real developer reality, not the stuff that like Apple or Google try to make it look like, or the tech industry, but the actual day-to-day world of a developer. So we love hearing from those dark matter devs. In fact, we like hearing from everybody that likes to boost in, because not only does it support the show, but it's one of the absolutely most pure organic moments in the podcast. We just talk about whatever you guys bring in. It not only encourages new conversations, but follow up on previous things. And like, I completely forgot about Mike's Wi-Fi until somebody boosted in. It's good to get that in the show. I just love the boost segment. And of course, this is a listener-supported show. So how do you do it? That's a great question.
Boost!
You got to get a new podcast app, podcastapps.com. We have links to Fountain and ways to get sats to send us real easily, to link it all together. It's super easy, but you could go the full self-hosted route. It's all up to you. So you got from like super easy to super advanced. Start with the links in the show notes and then go from there, or become a member at coder.show/membership. So to wrap us up, we had 17 folks stream sats. It wasn't, of course, it depends on how long the episode is, right? Shorter episodes means less streams. So we've had a couple of shorter episodes. So we had 17 folks stream and stacked 10,873 sats that way, which is a little low for the streaming sat number. But it also sounds like maybe there was a bug in Fountain, which is good to know. But then when you combine that with the boosters, well, that's a little bit better of a story. We're doing a little bit better this week. We stacked a combined total of 203,295 sats. That was really thanks to a couple of the baller boosters at the top there. They really held that up. Thank you, everybody who does support the show. Appreciate you. Now, before we get out of here, this is interesting. I didn't expect it to get rocky like this already, but there are already multiple roadblocks in place for Google and Meta and Amazon's nuke plans. So we've talked about the major tech companies pushing for nuclear power for their AI workloads. You know, Microsoft secured that 20-year deal with the reactor that got shut down in 2019 on the 3 Mile Island. Google is partnering with another company that's already been working on this. Oracle has obtained permits for 3 SMRs, which are those little reactors. And Meta is increasing their capital allocation by $1 billion for their, quote, AI power infrastructure. However, multiple different plans have been recently put on pause because, well, the funniest is there was a spot where Meta wanted to build and they were all set up and ready to go. But then it turns out that an environmental study of the area discovered a rare species of bees. And they had to cancel the entire project, according to the Financial Times, because they didn't want to disturb this rare species of bees, and they determined they couldn't relocate them. So Meta's first power plant, a little bit of a curveball there, but that's the funniest one. There's also a utility company that is voraciously fighting Amazon, claiming that they're going to like mess up with the grid, and that they're going to have special, sweetheart deals, and all this kind of stuff. And so it's an existing utility company that I think it's called AEP, and there's another one called Acceleron. Just there's no R. I think it's just Excelon or something like that. They are trying to fight Amazon's data center or AI nuke plant. So it's interesting to see it not going as smooth. I guess not to be totally unexpected, but I thought kind of the public opinion and tide had turned on this, and we'd see a lot of this stuff kind of get greenlit just because everybody's happy to get a little bit of money in their backyard right now. But
turns out, no.
Yeah, can't mess with the bees, right? Don't want to mess with the bees.
You got to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Mm-hmm. That's what Jar Jar always says. And then last but not least, save this because it's just a personal story. I decided to cancel my Claude subscription. So I didn't quite make it a month, it was just short of a month, I think. Claude's really, I think, especially for a lot of system type work or development work, Claude might be the best, especially 3.5. But I have had multiple times now where I have gotten like a moral lecture from Claude. And you also don't get access to the API.
Wait, when
you
you say moral lecture, like it didn't like the question?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple of times now where it censors and then it gives me a lecture.
Right,
and so this morning was the last straw.
Can you give me a question? I'm going to try it right in, I have Gemini. And Gemini is, although last time I did something like this, I made it Exorcist out.
Generate me your raunchiest Monica Lewinsky joke.
Gemini's never going to do that. You're wrong.
Or you could say funniest or dirtiest or spiciest. You know, you could try. Because, like, the Monica Lewinsky jokes are from an era that is, like, you know, past now. So, like, why are we still censoring this stuff? Yeah. Yeah. Not only did I get a no, but then it changed my, you know how each new chat session gets a title? Claude renamed my chat session from Monica Lewinsky joke to avoiding inappropriate humor, and then said, I aim to be helpful while avoiding content that could be deemed inappropriate or demeaning. I'd happily engage in other forms of humor or assist you with other tasks. Perhaps I could suggest some creative writing to help brainstorm jokes on a different topic. Like, you, man. Like,
that is very like you're a middle school boy getting yelled at by the teacher.
Yeah. And I immediately hit the down and I gave them the whole thing. Like, this is what I gave them an explanation why I don't like it. And I said, by the way, I'm canceling my subscription. And I immediately went over into the settings and I immediately canceled my subscription. And I cited the same reason. I am so sick of this. I am not going to pay $20 a month for some 90% LLM to lecture me on what is an appropriate joke or not. Like, where do we draw the line here? This is absolutely ridiculous. And, like, why are we... by the way, I went over to OpenAI, ChatGPT, and I asked it to make me some funny Monica Lewinsky jokes, and it gave me 3 of them. So, like, there's no standard.
Right.
And I feel like it's just... I feel like I'm being lectured to by my computer, and it infuriates me. It's a tool. And so, while I really do like Claude... I think what I'll try to do is I have not gotten any good recommendations, but I'm looking for a chat front end that I could plug in Claude's API. I can plug in OpenAI. I can plug in various APIs, including maybe even a local LLM, and then have a really nice chat front end that also will help display code kind of the way that now ChatGPT and Claude has done for a while, where it properly formats it in a little side view. I'm looking for something like that because these tools are driving me crazy. These pretzels are making me thirsty, Mike. You know what I mean? I'm still angry. It's really because it's like the third lecture I got, and I just don't need it. And sometimes I have had to go through ridiculous hoops to get an LLM that'll answer me. And I'm not like doing anything dangerous. I'm like, it's just, they'll get flagged by the content of the PDF I wanted to check, or it's an inappropriate joke. According to these LLMs, I'm just a mess, I guess. Maybe they're right. But you know who's not a mess?
Who's that?
You. And the place you want to send people, where should they go?
Well, I threw a LinkedIn link in. I'm doing a poll on everybody's favorite editor. You can vote, text editor for coding. Because, it is election day, and let's have some fun. Can I tell you who the front runner is?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to, why don't you guess? It's Vim, Emacs.
Okay.
I grouped all the JetBrains ones together, so JetBrains, and VS Code. And I would have let me add more options.
Well, I know which one's going to win in that list.
VS Code is winning by a bit. So if you want to...
It's because you didn't put Nano in there. No.
Oh, yeah, those ardent Nano supporters that are protesting. Yeah,
Nano users unite.
One of them cries every time you do sudo apt install Vim. It just kills them every time. So if you want to, let me know, and we'll have it for next week's show. The poll ends right before the show next week. Pick your editor, and if you where do they find this link? Is it in the show notes? I threw it in the show notes. I just posted it on my personal LinkedIn because I threw it together.
There you go. It'll be in the notes. And, of course, if you can't find it, just boost in your opinion. That'll count, too.
That counts, too. Or do both.
All right. You know what? I like it. Of course, you got alice.dev going on, too. There's always there's good stuff going on over there.
Yep. And, that's about it. And I'm on, oh, my God, I forgot what is Zuckerberg Threads, but I barely use it. So at Domingo,
Oh
Twitter, and
God,
Threads.
I am so exhausted. Like every podcast or YouTube I listen to, like some of the hosts are on Mastodon, some of them are on Blue Sky, some of them are on Thread, some of them are on Weapon X. I'm just. So I'm going to throw one more in there. Nostr, chrislas.com, chrislas.com. Hey, at least no corporation owns that, and there's no algorithm over there, and it's totally decentralized and open source. So there! All right, links to what we talked about, coder.show/594. And of course, we got our feedback form over there. We got the RSS feed where you can just plug it into your player of choice and all that good stuff. We'd love to have you join us live. We do it generally on Tuesdays, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, coder.show/live. And we try to get it updated, jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar or in your podcasting 2.0 app of choice. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Coder Radio program. We'll see you right back here next week.